All right, welcome to the Carver Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, October 19th, 2022. There is a Zoom link for two of our members this evening. It's also on the agenda, should anyone want to join from outside of here. Discussions in business. The first one that we'll look at tonight is, the only one actually, discussions in business, is 169 Plymouth Street fence. Oh, this was just continued to our next meeting. Sorry, I didn't see that. Okay, so moving on. The first thing is 0 South Meadow Road.
We can move the minutes to the end.
Yeah, we'll move the minutes to the end. This is a continued hearing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
They wanted us to discuss that site meeting prior to when they want to go on November 16th. So we'd probably see who can make a meeting before November 16th, on site.
A site visit.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what the consultant would like to do,
Okay.
for those who can make it. She said she's open to Saturdays even.
All right. Before November 16th, not the 2nd.
Nope, they're continued till the 16th.
Okay.
So when do you want to do the site visit?
It's up to you folks.
Well, you would prefer a Saturday, right?
Either that or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but we now have darkness coming at
Right.
4:30, so.
Well,
What's that?
They're talking.
are they?
Are they muted?
I don't have them muted, they're unmuted.
What is the audio, check the audio settings, volume,
For the TV?
bottom right of
I thought we had it turned, I had it turned up.
It looks like it's red.
Technology.
Mine is on my computer. And I tried turning it up and it doesn't.
It's X'd up, right here, look at that. Turn that up.
But that's my.
Unmute, see over here?
No, that's just us.
That's my microphone.
What is the thing with the extra, is that's not related to volume?
That
Yeah, like next to the microphone on the bottom left.
that X is iCloud. They don't want, that's just backup.
You have a loud audio?
There's my video, but I don't want my video on. No, I don't have anything.
Go back to unmute,
That's my mic.
go to participants.
That's just me. They're not.
What's this?
That's video. I don't want video.
Yeah, they're not muted.
No.
Try going to the volume settings, see if it might be on the wrong setting or something.
On what now?
Does it-
On your
on
computer.
the- Yeah, right there.
I got it cranked up to 92.
Right click on it. No, on the icon on the bottom right. On the
Right.
volume up there.
Click on the phone.
And go to
Sound
volume-
settings?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's nice.
see what the source
The
says.
HDMI microphone might be separate.
Master volume's on 92.
Yeah, but where are you at?
Go to the output, yeah, see which output it is.
Try
Yeah,
that.
click on speakers, see that.
Something's happening. I'll go back to the.
Go back to Zoom.
I'll leave that there. Leave that on speakers. Yeah. Now go back to Zoom.
Somebody say something.
You hear us, Dave?
Hello.
There we go.
Hello. Hi, Gary. I can hear you.
All right, it's gotta come out of here.
Wow, that's
Keep your
weird.
microphone there, bud.
Yep.
What about Dave?
Meeting of the
I
minds.
can hear you.
Dave's there too.
Dave's there.
Oh, we're not getting it
All
through
right.
the TV set.
Okay. All right, so,
Can't see you.
here we go. We need to come up with a date to go and look at 0 South Meadow Street. Saturday is preferred.
Can we do the 5th? What is the next meeting?
Gotcha.
They're not going to be here till the 16th.
We could do the 12th. That'll get past the election and all that stuff, so.
November 12th?
November 12th, that be all right? You back from Bora Bora or wherever the hell you are?
Yeah.
All right, so can we do the morning of the 12th? 10 o'clock? Dave, are
I
you,
didn't hear that. I didn't hear,
what's that?
I didn't hear what the discussion was.
We need to have a site visit at 0 South Meadow. The changing the bog to back to its natural state off Ward Street.
Right.
No, on November 12th?
Yeah, is the afternoon possible?
Not for me.
No.
I'm running a veterans breakfast that morning.
What about the 5th in the morning?
Sorry, my phone was coming. Yep.
Dave?
We could do a Friday afternoon at like 3 o'clock. We can do that. Usually I cut short on Friday.
Yeah.
What's that, Dave? I'm sorry?
He said the 5th is fine.
The 5th is fine? Saturday the 5th? 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock.
All right, we'll do that.
How about 9? Boy, you guys like to start at noontime. I mean, I like the stuff that happens on the
Well, you're
weekend.
going to see me in my pajamas, but okay.
That's fine. You look cute.
9 o'clock?
9 o'clock, Dave? Can we do 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock's fine.
Dan?
Yes.
All right.
Jim?
Yeah.
The only one that can't make it is Sabri.
I can make it. I'll just be rubbing my eyes. Okay, so we'll do that. All right, next up,
Saturday the 5th
Saturday the 5th,
at 9 a.m.
9 a.m. at Ward Street.
Okay, thank you.
All right, 9 o'clock. Okay, next up, continued hearings, 3-4 Park Avenue. Come on up. Yeah, this is a continue from the last time. We just didn't feel right having a vote on this last week or 2 weeks ago with only Alan and I present here and Dan on Zoom until the thunderstorm hit.
Yeah, then we lost Dan, so technically we lost the quorum.
So, hate to make you go through this again, but just do it briefly if you
No,
can.
I can give a quick overview. Again, my name's Bruce Haskell with Langdon Environmental. I'm the engineer for this project, but also for the Route 44 Development LLC, who's the owner, and has been working with the town on the North Carver Urban Renewal Plan redevelopment of the property out there. So good evening, and thank you for having me back. Essentially, this project is during some due diligence that was being done by a potential buyer of the property, of the properties that are out there. It was determined that there was PFAS compounds in the groundwater around the site, particularly around the western part of the site up against the Middleborough town line. The source of the PFAS compounds was an historic operation that was done in the mid-2000s where A prior owner accepted wastewater treatment residuals, sludges mixed with some solid waste, and was composting them on site. And again, I can get into a lot more detail there, but got into some trouble with Mass DEP and shut down the operation and elected to take the materials and essentially landfill them or dispose of them in the southwest corner of the site up against the wetlands that are out there and the the southwest corner in the Middleborough town line in that area. There's been a lot of work done. This was reported to Mass DEP under the Mass Contingency Plan. This is being done under that process. It was reported to Mass DEP approximately 2 years ago. There was a lot of wells and sampling and input from Mass DEP on determining the extent of any kind of plume or contamination that might be migrating to primarily towards private wells and primarily towards private wells in Middleborough and in Plimpton out there. So there's a lot of assessment that was done. It was determined that the plume essentially discharges to the northwest and moves towards a set of cranberry bogs located in Middleborough, and then follows Whetstone Brook and essentially discharges into Whetstone Brook. There was a environmental assessment submitted I believe it was in June of 2021, and that determined that. As part of that process, it was determined that there's two solutions to this problem. One is to continue with what's known as monitored natural attenuation, which is what it sounds like. Continue to monitor the plume, make sure it's stable, make sure it doesn't continue to move, and make sure it improves out there over time. Monitoring groundwater, and there's a set of wells and things that will be continue to be monitored for whatever the foreseeable future is out there. And then the second requirement is what's known as source control, which is constructing an impermeable cap over the area where the materials were placed, the sludge materials were placed. That intent of that cap is to stop infiltration of groundwater, of rainwater down through the waste, leaching through the waste into the groundwater table and entering the plume that's been identified out there. What's in front of the commission tonight is the construction of that cap, and it's really two parts. The first part is the consolidation of a small area. I'll just stand up and point it out here. Just to orient you on the plan, this is the plan that's in there. Route 44 runs sort of just off the plan on the bottom here to the south. North is straight up. There's the Middleborough town line runs through here. Out there, the Middleborough landfill is just sort of on the other side there, out there. And then if you've been out to the site, this is that, and down in the corner, there's that red old garage building that's out there. That was the sand and gravel operations maintenance facility out there. So the green line is the area of reclamation soils. If you remember, we were in front of the commission and the planning board. There's an approval to take clean soils and sort of raise the grade around the site. That operation was discontinued over 2 years ago out there, and that's just the limit of what was accepted out there. There's a second area that's in here that was a processing area. So when the prior owner accepted this material, he accepted it, he was processing it, composting it, everything else. There's some superficial materials that are there that have been identified as part of the assessment. Those are being pulled back into the larger southern area, which is about 4 or 5 acres of area, which where the materials, the composted or semi-composted materials are fairly thick and have to be put back there. As part of this project, there's a small intended to be infiltration basin that's located in this area here. The intent is to pump that out into a series of swales with check dams that will flow back down and then fill that in. The reason for,
They're still listening, there's not.
okay, no, okay, all right, I didn't know if we lost somebody there. So the basin, so the reason for removing that basin is it's an infiltration basin. It sits on top of the groundwater plume, and the concern is that the hydrology of that, the extra water that's creating head, is going to force the plume deeper, which could make it move further away than what we've delineated so far out there. So that's part of the project out there. I will say, as everybody knows, there is a proposed development. It was in front of town meeting, everything else out there, much larger scale development out there. That may require some alteration to some of these things in the future, but the intent of the project that's in front of the commissioners tonight is really just to cap this area, stabilize it, and for lack of a better term, stop the bleeding out there, get the thing stabilized out there. But the developer, for example, if he wants to pave over this area, may come in and pave over that area. Obviously, all of those would be subject to review and approval by the commission under the bylaw and the Wetlands Protection Act. That's the quickest overview I can give. I can certainly answer any questions you might have.
Dan or Dave, any questions?
What are you gonna cap it with? What was the cap gonna be?
That's a very good question. That should be the first question. So the cap is going to be a 40 mil high density polyethylene membrane. It's the same cap that was put over the town's land, the North Carver landfill, many years ago out there, and it's going to be overlain by 12 inches of organic material. One of the important things here is we're going to not import any materials into the site besides the membranes, and there's a couple other engineering drainage products that we're going to use out there, because we know that material is not creating a PFAS plume out there. As you may know, PFAS is sort of ubiquitous in the environment, and we want to make sure that we don't create another problem out there. So if there was an old wood waste landfill that was on the site out there, and that was stump dump essentially, and that was dug up and screened, some of the materials, the overs were sent off site, and some of the other material that's left is a very good loam product out there and stuff. So that's going to be the top dressing.
Thank
The dotted orange line is the extent of the membrane?
Yes, the final cap out there. One of the things is that will be confirmed in the field, obviously, because it's based on some test pits that were done by the licensed site professional. But as they're capping, they want to make sure that it may get adjusted a little bit out there, just to make sure everything is capped. Along the wetlands, just to point out, this sort of goes steeply down. The fill material goes steeply down into the wetland resource areas. That material will be pulled back in order to construct the cap, the extra foot of cap, or a little bit more than a foot in those areas, and without filling any permanent filling of wetland resource areas.
And these are the only two PFAS found anywhere on the property?
Those are the only two that require correct remediation. There was another PFAS area that was identified with the old septage plant that was out there. So the septage plant near the entrance to the site out there that was operated, I want to say it was shut down 10 years ago or something in that range out there. They had lagoons on the site, and so the lagoons were discharging. They were sampled, and it was determined that the area that was impacted was very limited in the groundwater, and the area of the soils that were left under where the lagoons were well below the DEP regulatory standards out there.
Okay.
And just to be totally comprehensive, there is a deeper plume that is coming from an offsite location out there, but that's not. Again, obviously, we can't correct that, but it's also not of the same kind of concentrations out here.
Okay. So I'm assuming that once this membrane is down, you have 12 inches of organic on top of it, that whatever comes next there, they can't penetrate that.
They cannot without modifying the approvals, both from the commission and also from Mass DEP out there. So this is, if you're familiar with the Mass Contingency Plan, there's a licensed site professional who essentially is licensed by the Mass DEP to make decisions about the remediation out there, subject to review and approval. So he has been submitting documents that DEP has looked at and commented on back and forth about that. But if anything gets modified from the plan that we're presenting tonight to you out there, and again, significant, not just tweaking the edges a little bit to make sure we catch everything, but significant modification that has to be back resubmitted to Mass DEP under that process, and is presumably, if it's in your jurisdictional areas, that same, the same way with the commission.
Okay. Do you have anything?
Oh, I do. Is this contaminated soil? Are we putting a Band-Aid on top of this? Is that what this is?
No, it's contaminated, so it's wastewater that was supposed to be composted with, it was mixed with
Coming
solvents.
from where?
Coming from the city of Marlboro.
No, where's the water coming from? Is the city of Marlboro? The
No,
material's
What's
coming from Marlboro.
The impacted groundwater? No.
So, am I to understand that we didn't learn anything from the North Carver landfill? We're gonna just stick a big tarp over this thing, throw some dirt on top of it, and keep our fingers crossed for the next 20 years, and hope that this doesn't find its way into somebody else's well in the backyard, so we have a Plymouth Street fiasco all over again. Why are we leaving the dirt where it is? We know we brought in bad dirt to start with. Why is it being allowed to stay there?
That's not the same dirt at all. This is much deeper. This has been there for 30,
Then dig
30
it out.
years. That's
I'm
not,
absolutely against putting a Band-Aid over this whole thing in North Carver. We've been down this road with the landfill in North Carver, and we're still eating that 20 years later.
I don't know if that's possible.
It's not feasible to dig it up. I mean, if
Not feasible or not economical.
it's both out there. There's very few places, there's,
down there. That contaminated material's all over the site.
I know it is.
that's not, no, that's not the case, actually.
It's been a dump for a long time.
I understand, but there's been.
We're talking about one thing, PFAS.
I
Yeah.
understand that, and that's the next big thing that's coming along now. So we're dealing with this nonsense from the North Carver landfill, where they capped it and everything else, and we got wells that went to hell, and we just spent $500,000 on water lines because we destroyed wells, and rightfully so. This is now up in what we know is a junkyard for years, and now they want to put a Band-Aid over this and keep our fingers crossed where we build a 1 million square foot whatever on top of it all, and hope that the people in Middleborough don't have a destruction of a downflow like they have on Plymouth Street. And that's leaving one hell of a legacy for the next generation in this town, in my view.
If we do nothing, the rainwater will move this PFAS deeper into the soil and contaminate the wells. This is putting something on it so the rainwater doesn't get to it and it doesn't seep deeper into the
I
ground.
don't believe that for 1 second.
It's actually, I mean, if I could try to.
Probably already contaminated my mom's property. That's the truth.
If I could just try to answer that. So there's, I mean, obviously it's an expense to dig it up and take it somewhere. But there is also limited places that will accept this material. And to be frank,
Let's
the cap.
cover it up and leave it where it is.
No, excuse me. I'm trying to answer your question, Mr. Germain. The cap is an effective approach.
I don't believe that for 1 second either.
It's been effective at the North Carver landfill.
No, it hasn't.
Yes, it has.
Okay. Well, that's your
No, it
opinion.
hasn't, because that plume is over where you are now.
No,
That's
it
your
is. No, it
opinion. We've just spent $500,000 on contaminated wells on Plymouth Street.
I'm very familiar with the North Carver landfill.
I'm sure you are.
I am, and I believe, so the North Carver landfill, the cap that was placed on there to deal with a solvent issue in the homes that were immediately to the north of it. It has, the concentration of those solvents have gotten a lot better. The issue over the reason the town had to run water to that was because of emerging contaminants that came up that had to be dealt with.
Dioxin 1.4, and now the latest is PFAS.
Yes. So
So I guess the cap didn't work so good, because now the PFAS is showing up in wells.
It was the most effective solution that was even remotely cost effective for the town.
So it was the best of the worst, is what you're telling me.
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay. I'm not happy with this at all, Mr. Chairman. We didn't learn. And
So we
that's
leave
what
it the way it is.
No, we don't leave it the way it is. We order it cleaned up.
We can't do that
Why?
because
Nobody gets a permit till it gets cleaned up. It's very simple. It's all about economics. Take away the money, and all of a sudden, people start jumping and getting it cleaned up. You make it easy, we put a Band-Aid over it, and then 20 years from now, there's a whole new board sitting here saying, how could they have done this to us 20 years ago?
I wouldn't say this is an easy solution or an inexpensive solution on its own, okay, out there.
I don't think it's a solution at all.
Gentlemen, if I can interrupt. The
Put the microphone down by your speaker,
It gives
Gary.
feedback.
Solution
Remember
for
we
the
did
area
that last
you're
time?
coming up with for the specific plume you're talking about is a good solution, but it's a stopgap measure and it's not a complete solution for the area, especially in light of the plans for that area. And to make it more complex, there are other plumes besides the ones you're addressing.
Yes, I mentioned that, yes.
So once that cap is there, okay, I know that there are, you've said that, we can't dig up and get that material elsewhere, but I'm not convinced that that's actually the case. We have a very sensitive area and one where I'm gonna use the word, not that it's a bad plan, it's an incomplete one. And I think because of the plans that the town has, potentially for that property and the whole property itself, not just the area that you're targeting, I think that we need to do something a little bit more comprehensive.
This is the, okay.
Something that doesn't just pass standards as of today, but there are anticipated standards that you're well aware of, that I'm well aware of, and things where, we do just what we need to do so that we can get permits so that work can get done, but we have not actually fixed the problem. We put a Band-Aid on it, and more than a Band-Aid, to be fair. The cap solution that you have for that, I understand how it does in a positive way affect the expediting, hydrologically speaking, of the plume's movement. But again, I think we can go further, and I'd like us to discuss that.
What I would say in response to that is that the assessment has been done. It's been determined that, and again, the future development of this site, the critical exposure pathway, Dan, for that out there is somebody drinking the water out there. And the future development of the property is, it's reliant on the North Carver Water District to provide water to it. So it's not a well that would be used on the property out there. So they're really, as far as an exposure to people being out there, that's will be eliminated in the future development. The alternatives of, a lot of these alternatives have been looked at and evaluated, and the conclusion was that this is the most comprehensive solution out there. If the deeper plumes come from off-site, and we know that because of past contamination and issues that were addressed on this property for upgradient plumes out there. We are not in the position to remedy those those plumes out there, and I agree, this cap will not remedy those plumes out there, and they are determined to be a different type of PFAS. As you know, PFAS is a long list of compounds out there, but this is not, we've determined that they're not, it's a different source, if you will, than what we have. So I think that the solution that we've put in front of the commission tonight is a comprehensive solution out there, and the issue is to try to guess what the next contaminant will be, the next issue will be, is an errand that we can't really go down, and we need to fix this problem here and address it there. And this problem is being looked at by the potential by the buyer out there, and they are comfortable with this as a solution, to be augmented when they get their development to move forward.
Dave, do you have anything?
When it comes to our communications with planning and other development planning, other than those seeking our sign off on things as they come down the road, I'm trying to have this process be as proactive as possible, because there are gonna be some other issues coming up with this property, you know, in the not so distant future, and I just want to be sure that if we agree to this measure, is it take away options down the road for other things that we want to try to mitigate things from getting worse.
I have a question. What's DEP's take on your solution that you're presenting to us now?
So DEP doesn't issue an approval for this, but they essentially have seen drafts of the report that it recommends this, and they've seen the final report, which was submitted 4 to 6. I don't know exact 4 to 6 weeks ago, within the last couple of months, just leave that at that, approximately there. So. You know, I mean, we would check in again with them before we implemented anything, certainly out
Right.
there. But the direction that we're taking with this is there, you know, I mean, there's sort of the steps are determine if there's a real massive risk problem going on out there. Okay, that's somebody, you know, drinking the water, something like that that's going on. They've checked, they've done that with the assessment and dealt with that, and then it's the monitored natural attenuate, you know, the monitoring program sourced with cutting off the source with a cap of, you know, it's cutting off the source there, but in this case with a cap out there. So that's, you know, sort of their presumptive, you know, remediation for these kinds of projects out there, this kind of situation.
Has this been used other places?
Oh yeah, yes. I mean, you know, typically this is much like a landfill cap would be out there, as was mentioned. But the other places the places where a lot of PFAS contamination was in firefighting foam out there. So there's some firefighting areas. I'm familiar with one around the Barnstable airport, where they actually took the area and constructed a cap over it just to keep the same basic concept, conceptual concept, different kind of cap because it's sort of in the grassed areas of an airport, really, so a little different approach.
Is there an estimation or is there knowledge of how deep this goes?
How deep the
contamination goes?
Well, there's two parts. There's a solid material, which is at least 12 feet deep, I would say, out there. And again, it varies across the site because, again, it was the corner of the gravel pit. He just sort of plowed the material over there, out there. The plume, the estimates are out. The plume from this material, the rough estimates is it's 25 feet or so into the groundwater table. Those are the estimates that were used to sort of calculate the mass of material that was out there.
It's a shame there's no technology that allows us to go down that deep, Mr. Chairman. I'm on sites all the time that go down 25 and 30 and 35 feet. This stuff can't stay here. They want to put a cap over it, like putting a rain cap on it, and it's going to come back and bite this town in the ass 20 years from now.
So
I'm not comfortable voting for any of this. I want the stuff out. That's my personal take. You guys do what you want. The majority of the board will rule. But we're going to put a Band-Aid over a problem that we're already dealing with in North Carver with a landfill. And we're leaving a legacy behind of liability 20, 25 years from now when we're all in the ground and there's another board sitting here saying, how could they do this to us? Because we didn't learn the first time. Jim, you've been around longer than all of us on this board. Am I far off the mark with that question? You dealt with the North Carver landfill.
Yes and no. There are realities that have to be observed, which is that there's simply not enough places to move this trashy soil, basically, and there are not enough sources to find clean soil. So what we have to do is you have to live to a degree with the sort of impaired quality of the soil, and we simply have to just take precautions. It's like all of Otis Air Base that has damage from careless Defense Department activities. So it's just something that we have to deal with all around this country. places where people have just dumped crap, and we have to try and adjust to it. I feel that this proposal is the best that we can do. I really do. It's sad, but it's true.
All right, it appears to me that on the larger of the two areas that have the PFAS contamination, that our jurisdiction in this matter is approximately 30% of the area, maybe a little bit less.
Yes, I would agree with that roughly.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
So we do not have any power to say remove it all, first of all. That's outside of our jurisdiction. The second thing is if they're saying that it's 25 feet deep, if you look at the southeastern delineation of the PFAS where they're going to put the cap, that is adjacent to the wetlands. So your suggestion of digging 25 feet deep along the border of a wetlands could significantly change those
We can just
wetlands.
leave the dirty dirt there, that's fine.
Can I just clarify one thing? The solid material is about 12 feet deep. The groundwater plume is 25 feet deep. I just want to make sure I clarify,
Okay.
if I didn't make
All
that
right,
clear
all
before.
right, so removing 12 feet.
Yes.
Still, it's removing 12 feet of soil adjacent to a wetland. I mean, it's right at the wetland. It's not in the buffer zone, it's right at the edge of the wetland.
So we should leave the dirty dirt right in the wetlands. Is that what you're saying to me? Is that your suggestion?
If we remove it, the wetlands go away.
If we leave it
Probably.
there, the wetlands get contaminated.
No, that's what the cap does.
So- Right, okay.
You don't believe that the cap
I
works?
don't.
Where's your proof that it doesn't?
I just don't believe it does. On
Well,
a lot of job sites, we pull a lot of dirty dirt out of job sites. They call French, it goes to Maine, it goes to Michigan, it goes wherever it goes.
someone called friends here and
Tens
it
of
came here.
thousands of yards
30
of
years
material
ago.
get pulled out. They pulled it out of Situate, they pulled it out of Holbrook, they're trying to build a senior center. The dirty dirt was there was a big mountain of it, they had plastic covering it over, and French came in, and it all went to Michigan. Because it was dirty dirt. And they could have capped it, because it was part of the parking lot. But the town of Holbrook said, get it out of here. And that's exactly what they did. They got it out of here.
How much was it? How much dirt?
Must have been probably 1,000 yards.
It's nothing.
Okay. I mean, here we're talking a lot more than that.
Situate was probably 4,000 or 5,000 yards. That was the old ammo dump. You don't think that dirt was dirty? That was the government ammo dump.
Well,
I just think that we're leaving, we all know what North Carver was before it was a dump. We took in dirty dirt for years. Our fathers before us in this town allowed this garbage to come into town. And to have us just bury it now and put a Band-Aid on top of it.
It's
so we
already
can
buried.
develop it. Yes, it's already buried, but now we know about it.
It's not buried, it's on top of the ground, from where the elevations used to be. They piled it on top of the ground. There's a big mountain over there.
I'm concerned about the residents in Plimpton who are on wells. Middleborough has town water, so it's not going to affect a well in Middleborough because virtually nobody has one. But it could very well affect wells in Plimpton. And again, we're leaving a legacy. I just have an issue with the whole thing. I'll go along with the vote of the board. I hope you guys have enough votes for it, because my answer is no.
Can I just clarify with the private wells? I mean, a big part, as I mentioned before, the first part of this work was to determine if the groundwater was even flowing towards, could get to, the private wells that were in Middleborough and in Plimpton, right on the northern property line out there. And it was determined that was not a feasible, it was not going to get from point A to point B out there. So that was the initial determination, and that was done under a very fast turnaround, because once we reported this condition to DEP, they wanted to know how many private wells were within X distance, where does the water go? So there was a lot of work that was done to determine that. So I think some of it is that the physical connection isn't there out there. And again, everything from the property that's owned here, it's a cranberry bog and it's the Whetstone Brook. So there really isn't an intermediate point where somebody can intercept that out there. And again, this property is going to be served by the North Carver Water District.
I find it comical, Mr. Chairman, that every single earth removal project going on in the town of Carver, Plimpton, Wareham, Halifax, and Plymouth is destroying the sole source aquifer by a couple of groups of people. And yet this doesn't seem to affect the sole source aquifer at all. How can one cause the problem and this one sitting with contaminated soil not? You're telling me this water will never reach what is supposedly a sole source aquifer?
All right, I'm not saying this is the case. Let's say that that your solution becomes too expensive, and the owner of the property walks away.
Okay.
And it's 20 more years that this stays right here with no cap on it.
Well, we have a current owner of the property that can be forced to remove it.
He can walk away.
The current owner can walk away?
Yes, that's
Wants
who's
to forfeit the
presenting
land?
this now. We can't,
We can forfeit the land if he wants. Be a beautiful park.
it's been like that it's been like that forever anyway.
I'm just telling you, this is not the solution that I think will work. That's my personal belief. I'd like to see a different engineering study from a different firm. I'd like to have it not be the best guess from the current developer or the current person who's looking into buying the property, because they're looking at it from a checkbook angle. I'd like to have it looked at from a firm who doesn't care how much money it costs and gives us an honest opinion. Not that I'm saying you're not. Please don't misunderstand.
Actually, I do take some out there, but if you think about the person who's buying the site is not as concerned about the person who's selling its checkbook, if you will, out there. So if that was a solution that the person who was buying the site was really...
But it's all about economics, am I wrong?
No,
It's
absolutely
not.
not.
This is an open-ended account.
No,
This
and
is not-
nothing's
nothing to do with
open-ended
economics?
accounts. If you work on construction sites, you have to send dirt out there. You're not sending dirt to Michigan that can go to another site
And I
like
don't
this.
disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. But when you're looking at this becomes not only what your opinion of the best solution is, but you can't tell me that you don't also consider it to be the best economical solution from a dollar standpoint, because we all are dollar driven.
So obviously there's a dollar thing. I'm not going to argue that, but there's criteria, implementability. Can it be implemented? Effectiveness out there. I mean, some of this material is going to be near the water table. It's going to be very difficult to remove out there and stuff like that. Whereas the cap will actually lower the water table slightly locally out there. So I think there's a series of 9 criteria. And the last one is cost out there. So if the state DEP felt that this was an ineffective solution, and that the only solution here was to remove the material, then that would be the solution that we'd be sitting here tonight talking to you about out there. So it's not just a cost. I want to be clear. There's a lot effectiveness, implementability, maintenance.
And don't get me wrong. This is a tremendous amount of money you're going to spend to do this.
Yes.
This is not cheap either. I'm not
No,
saying
it's
that
not.
this is the Walmart solution. You know what I'm trying? This isn't the cheapest solution by any means. There's a ton of money going to be spent here. And I get that. But this comes right back to, what do we tell an abutter when it doesn't work?
Alan, can you speak directly into the microphone? I think Dan and I are having a hard time hearing you.
You can't hear me? That's very unusual. I think I just want to make sure that this is going to work. I am absolutely freaked out over the North Carver landfill. I'm extraordinarily concerned with that. The pond is contaminated that's behind Norfolk Power Equipment. The landfill's contaminated. We have problems with Plymouth Street that we're running water lines at our expense down to hooking up houses to the North Carver project solely because of runoff from the landfill that was capped years and years ago. And now we have PFAS showing up in some of those wells. So I guess my concern is that this is the problem today, but what's the problem 10 years from now? And then where do we go 10 years from now?
So can it's another point I'd like to make is there is a lot of PFAS. All right, so the amount of PFAS that's causing this problem is a quarter of a pound of PFAS, and the estimates are that. So it's a small amount that's causing this problem. There's a lot of PFAS. All that PFAS is already in the groundwater table and moving away out there. Removing all the materials is not going to solve that problem out there. That's not going to fix the problem. We can't go and get that PFAS out of the groundwater that's moving away towards whatever sensitive receptors out there. But the cap does, it stops that, continued sort of source going into it out there. So it stops that. It puts a cover over the top of it that stops that from going forward out there. So, we can't put the horse back in the barn, but we can stop, we can lock the door so make sure it doesn't, another horse doesn't get out there.
Okay.
Dave, do you have anything?
I was just wondering, so if you were to excavate, I mean, just hypothetically, what would you have to do to excavate to get rid of the material that's actually causing the problem? I mean, how deep down would you have to go? I mean, you'd have to go into the water table, correct?
I would guess we would, because we're right up against the wetlands there. Yeah, I believe we would be down below the water table out there. The water table actually fluctuates a fair amount out this site, out there. But again, we would be down on the water table, and we'd have to address the flow from the wetlands back into the excavation out there, essentially.
Right. So
There's
it's
a
very
pond.
difficult to excavate anything out of there, is what you're saying, right?
Yes.
And how much material would you have to excavate? Like cubic yards, whatever, just guesstimate.
It's like, say it's 5 acres, 10 feet deep, because I can do the math. That's 50 times.
A lot, right?
Yeah, 50 times. What's 50 times 1,600? Is that
Curious.
80,000 yards of material?
Yeah.
And if I'm doing my math, and again, that's I don't quote. That's a
Right.
10 feet deep, 5 acres. Out there, rough number there.
Going to have monitoring wells?
Yes, the program is combined with the monitoring of the site I think it's twice a year out there, and if the results,
The well locations?
It's on the C1, I think.
there's some of them on C1, but there's a network that goes much further to the north out there. And that's so the purpose of those is that if something changed, okay, so they've identified where the groundwater goes very well. And if something changed, all of a sudden the PFAS concentration doubled out there, and again, I'm just hypothetically, then there could be some other action taken out there to collect groundwater, to do something to cause create a condition that would fix that out there. Or if there was another contaminant potentially down the road that associated with this material, those same wells could be used to assess how far that had gone.
So laterally, how far has the contaminant moved so far? I mean, how far?
The plume area from that where it's above the drinking water standard, which is the standard that we're using to sort of establish the limits there, is I believe it's about 65 acres of land that's to sort of to the northeast of that out there. But and essentially, it's between the location where the material is and the cranberry bogs that are to the northwest out there in Middleborough.
So it hasn't gone beyond the cranberry bog, right, basically?
No, essentially it follows the brook. The groundwater follows the brook and discharges up into the brook out there, Whetstone Brook, that goes to the west, roughly northwest there.
Anyone else? Do we have anybody here in the audience that wants to speak on this? If you come up, please, sir, and sign in.
Okay, hi, I'm Jeff Thomas. I'm basically on here on behalf of my mom. She owns the property over there. And the materials there, last time we were here, it was just a couple of small plumes that was involved in the cleanup. Now all of a sudden, there's 65 acres involved in the cleanup because they're saying that the material is contaminated, and it's about 12 feet deep. He probably is correct about that.
It's 5 acres.
5 acres of it? Okay.
5 acres of the actual material, I'm sorry.
5 acres of
Sorry.
the material
Yeah.
in the back there.
Yes, yes.
But out in the front, you say is contaminated as well from the sewage.
Yeah, that's a small 1 to 2 acre area.
There hasn't been materials piled out there as well?
No, there has not. Not these materials. There are just some sand piles and debris from when the plant was there. So it's good concrete.
Okay, okay. But I was involved, a person gave me a call, I don't know, that was gonna purchase the property about 4 or 5 years ago. And basically, to make a long story short, he backed out because of the cost of the cleanup. He called me one day and he says, I can't do it, there's too much cleanup there. So he must have known, money-wise, that it couldn't be done, and he didn't want to come in front of the town or whatever. And that runoff has been running onto my mother's property ever since. And where the plume is headed towards Middleborough, she owns a piece of property there, maybe an acre there too, where that plume, from what this gentleman here is saying, is going that way, and all towards the wetlands there. All that runoff is going onto her property. I don't know how that, we can address that, but the way the elevations run, everything goes to her Route 44 property, into where she used to have a stump dump there. It's all sloped and everything and capped, if you will. And that's what's going on over there with all this contaminated material.
Where exactly do you live, sir?
I live in Carver right now.
No, your address, where are you in relationship to this? Or your mother?
It's, what is it, what's the address?
Where are we?
For the slope? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
The address of the property?
Yeah, what's her address?
It runs along the side of Route 44, right alongside this property here.
Yeah, but you said this is running into your mom's property.
Right,
So where's your mother's property?
along 44. It divides their property from Route 44. It runs, the 5 acres run right along parallel with 44, where all the water is being discharged, basically,
I guess I'm...
from the runoff.
It's
She owns a piece of property between these guys
this is
And
Route 44 and
Now I got you.
Route
So-
44.
So you own, okay, down the bottom of
She
this
owns,
drawing,
yeah,
okay, all
yeah.
right, all right, all right.
down at the bottom of the drawing. She owns all that property, and then she owns another piece of property, I believe it's in Middleborough, just over the line in Middleborough, that divides the
Well, that would,
bog.
yeah, that would be like, what, this piece over here?
I believe so, yes,
So
right in
she owns
there.
this down here?
Yeah.
And this over here?
And, yeah,
I
yeah,
got you.
yeah. Goes all the way to the bog.
Mr. Haskell, didn't you say that the plume was moving to the northwest?
Yeah, it's moving in the other, I could show them on a plan better, but it's moving to the northwest, and there's sort of some bogs and ponds associated that separate the Middleborough landfill from this site
Yep.
out there, and the drainage from the Route 44 site, sort of, in that side goes toward, the surface drainage goes towards those bogs. Also, those wetlands that we're talking about here, that are sort of on the southern property line, run well along the southern property line. That's where the drainage would go, very locally to that, and that would be a divide, so to speak, between the two properties out there. And I apologize, I don't know exactly where your mother's property
Yeah,
is
yeah.
out there, but I do know that Route 44 Development actually owns about 6 acres over the property line in Middleborough that sort of directly abuts this area there. And again, there's a couple other parcels over in that area
Right,
here, over
right.
in here,
Yep.
and stuff in this general
Yep.
area here, out there. But the water does not, the drainage does not go back towards Route 44. It goes sort of to the north, from that area out there, or it goes into those wetlands locally, where it's, and again, those wetlands are sort of, they were created by the former sand and gravel operation along the edge there.
Right.
Now, you said also that there was a deeper plume that was from an off-site Is that a site that's on the other side of Route 44?
We believe so, but we haven't done the assessment to determine exactly the source of the
Okay,
site.
but that plume moving in the same direction?
Generally, yes.
Deeper, but in the
Deeper
same?
I
direction.
thought that plume was taken care of.
Well, it was taken care of for a different contaminant
Oh,
out there, not for, so PFAS is a relatively new thing that's been required to be sampled for out there. So it's something that wasn't part of that program from,
Yep.
it went on for quite a while out there.
How recent is PFAS, checking for PFAS?
Checking for, it's really emerged in the last 5 years out
Okay.
there. And for example, the source, there's many sources for it. And they started with like firefighting academies, some of the firefighting areas, airports, things like that. And Mass DEP has not required generally landfills to sample for PFAS yet out there. But Massachusetts is one of the first the last states in New England to do that, to require that out there. Carver was required to do that because of the historic 1,4-dioxane and some of the other issues out there and stuff. So.
Okay.
Does that PFAS biodegrade at all?
That's the problem with it. No, it doesn't out there. No, not in timelines that people can think of out there.
Yeah, it's a forever chemical.
Yeah, its nickname is the forever chemical out there.
The gifts
So,
that keeps giving.
yeah.
Right. So, are there anybody else like to say anything on this? So we need to have a motion to allow this work to be done with the capping of the PFAS based on the plans.
You can close the hearing first.
All right.
We're
Yeah.
gonna do that.
All right. Thank you. We need a motion to close the hearing.
All right, is everybody else done?
I think so. I asked.
He did
So-
ask.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All right. It's been moved and seconded to close the hearing on 3-4 Park Avenue, DEP SC 126-653. All those in favor say aye.
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 Dave?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Now we need a motion to approve the NOI.
Doesn't need a variance, though, right?
Yeah,
It do-
Mr. Chair, can I interrupt just 1 second now that the hearing's closed? Just something for us as a committee to talk about, not for this project, but for projects that are coming down the pike. In looking at our bylaws and looking at the master plan the town has and the listing, the assumptions that are made of what our purview is, it's a bit more expansive than I think we've been acting on, and I would like at a future meeting, whether it be 2 meetings from now or whenever, to maybe have a little discussion about creating a little bit more of a robust and proactive agenda for our mission, and one that if it requires altering bylaws or something that can be done on the executive end through a vote of simply with procedure, I'd like that to be put on an agenda item before the year is out.
Okay, we can put that on our next meeting if you like. November 2nd.
Thank you.
All right, anyway.
This does need a variance.
Hmm?
This also needs a variance.
Yes, I know. We'll do the NOI first and the variance. So I'll accept a motion to approve the NOI for 3-4 Park Avenue, 126-653.
Also move?
So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the NOI. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
All right. The NOI is approved 4-1. Now I need a motion to approve the variance for the project work that will be within the 65 feet, which is not a lot, but it's enough. So I need a motion.
Also move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chair, just to avoid any confusion, I'd like to change my vote to a no.
All right.
Previous vote.
Take it again.
Vote again.
You just
All right. We're gonna.
voted on it.
All right.
I vote again on the NOI.
We're gonna vote again on the NOI. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
All right, it's 3-2. All right, now I'll accept a motion. We have a motion and a second on the, allowing the variance on 3-4 Park Avenue, SC 126653. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I
Aye.
don't know that we had, do we
We
have
didn't have a
a,
second.
we didn't have a motion on that.
We had a motion.
We had a motion.
No
Second?
No second.
I thought Dave seconded.
No. There's no motion on the variance. There's a
No,
motion,
Jim
second.
motioned on the
There's no
variance.
second on the variance.
Is there a second on the variance?
I'm having difficulty hearing, so.
I'm looking for a second on the variance.
I'll second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to grant the variance on 3-4 Park Avenue, 126653. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
No.
All right, it passes 3-2. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
All right, next up. Another continued hearing, 6 Crescent Road. Thank you for your patience. Where did Gary go? Oh, you have plans for us? Great. Thank you.
At our last hearing, there was a few suggestions made by the commission. One of them was to have Brad Holmes redelineate the wetlands in this area. That was done. And he also, while he was out there, he redelineated that area. The other thing that we were asked that we could do is fill in this 420 square foot finger-like projection. That would help us with our 65-foot line. And then what we did is we've moved this house approximately 30 feet towards the street so that all work associated around the house is out of the 65-foot area.
So you're with Davis. These are yes. You know what I mean? I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
This is better.
It's a lot better.
It's a lot better.
So you, we took out some of the wetlands, right? And we're replicating?
No, we're not doing that.
Where was
Because it was too small. That wasn't necessary to replicate.
So we just moved the house? Is that all we did?
Well, if we eliminate this little finger-like projection,
Yes.
that helps us with the 65-foot.
Right.
And then the other thing we did was we moved everything about 30 feet towards Crescent Road.
So you got buffer and, this is much better.
That's the old.
Yeah, see, this is what I was talking about.
Yep.
Was this. So
They didn't have to replicate that because it was small.
you have less of the house in the 100,
Yep.
and you actually have some backyard before you hit the 65.
That's correct. Yes.
Which is what's going to be, this is what would happen in reality anyway. So this is great. as far as I'm concerned. I like this.
Well, this is what we look for.
See, my only issue was the house was almost on the corner of the 65, which means technically to walk around the house, you'd be in the 65. So
Can I
eventually,
make a suggestion, you guys? Can you speak directly into the microphone so Dan and I can hear you, can't hear you guys?
oh, that would be
All
that's because his computer's no good, but that's okay. So can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, I'm happy for that. So this looks very, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
See, you missed all the good stuff.
Okay.
Quite an improvement.
Can the camera get a picture on the drawing so these guys can see it?
He would have to bring the drawing closer to my,
Oh, there you go. That would be perfect. Just let them have a cute peek at it. Can you guys see that all right?
Lower it just a little bit.
Lower it down a little bit.
There we go.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. All right.
So in case you're having a hard time seeing it, it looks like less of the house is in the 100, and there's backyard before you hit the 65. Before, the house was almost on the 65. So they've moved the house up a little bit and gotten it as far away as they can. It's a big improvement from the last plan.
All right.
You'll have to take our word for it.
Okay.
No, we can see pretty well here.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, it's a similar solution to the one we used on Indian Street.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Indian Street.
Yep.
Okay.
Looks good to me.
Thank you.
All right, okay.
Any public?
So the only thing we would need the variance for really now is the well.
That's correct.
Okay.
In order to keep the well.
Yep, okay, that's fine. Just making sure.
That's standard.
All right, is there anybody here from the public that wants to, are we all done? Anyone have any questions from the board, first of all? No? We all good? Anybody from the public? Okay.
Motion to close the hearing for 6 Crescent Road, NOI SE 126651.
A second?
It's been moved and seconded to close the hearing for 6 Crescent Road. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, that's passed unanimously.
Motion to approve the NOI for 6 Crescent Road, SE 126651, as drawn on the plan dated, the revision dated 10/18/2022.
A second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the NOI for SC 126651. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Motion to grant the variance for 6 Crescent Road, NOI SE 126651, to allow the well in the 65.
We second?
You want to do anything with the flags and stuff like that at the 65
That's part of the
boundary?
order conditions.
So we just put that in the order of conditions?
The
The wetlands
plaques.
flags.
The wetlands plaques.
So like 1, 2, maybe 4?
Yep.
Okay. That's
One.
not their property. The property line is the black line.
I see it. 1, oh, okay. 1,
2,
2, yeah, it's 4.
Okay,
4.
all right,
1,
okay.
2, 3, 4.
All right, that's fine. All right, we'll put 4.
4 flags.
Yeah.
We can sign this one. I'll sign yours,
Are
I
you-
sign his, I don't care.
Are you going to get that plan signed? Gary, thank you.
That's the motion.
All right, the motion's been made to grant the variance. A second?
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded to grant the variance for 6 Crescent Road. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Hearing none, it's approved,
5-0.
5-0.
Like I said in the last one we did this with, this is what it's all about.
Thank you very much.
Yep,
This
thank
is how
you.
it
Thank you
works.
for your cooperation
you.
with this. Everyone walks away happy. That's what we like.
God
Give me
forbid.
a sticker for 651. That's got numbers on it. That's the other one.
Put the wrong number on it.
Yeah, 652, you put, it's one.
We'll just fix it.
That's 651.
Yeah.
Promise.
Dan and Dave, when you get a chance, come in to sign these things.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Will do.
Gary, please.
That's the 652 also.
All right.
No, that's been printed. This is the other form. This is the one that we just approved.
No, that's 653.
Then who's 652?
I don't know. Maybe the minutes are wrong?
Just, I'll fix it.
Okay.
Yeah, that one says 652.
One or the other is, they don't match.
I'll make them match.
Okay. All right. Any topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the posting of this agenda?
Yes. Gary, we have something that come up last night at the planning board with Yogi Bear.
Jellystone.
You're gonna
Jellystone.
have to address that because I didn't hear about it. I heard a
Okay.
little bit from Jill this morning.
This gentleman was there last night. He was going, I believe you were going for a minor mod? And they wanted they wanted a Concom opinion? Correct. So I was at that meeting last night. I didn't get involved in what was going on with him, but I spoke with him after the meeting, and he said they wanted this to come back to Concom, which means we wouldn't, if we didn't look at this tonight under unanticipated, we'd have to deal with it in 2 weeks, which would be after the next planning board meeting. So that means that planning board wouldn't deal with this for the next month. So I was trying to make this easy on this gentleman because we've already approved everything. This is a minor mod about the pool. And you can tell me the rest of the story after that. I just thought this would expedite it, and it was unexpected because this came up last night. We went to planning, and planning said, we need to know what conservation wants to do.
Yeah, I can start. I can start. My name is Dan Flores with SFC Engineering. I was here back in July to amend the order of conditions. And at that time, we discussed this briefly. You guys have seen this. This was approved by the planning board. What we've now done is basically detail this pool area. When I was here last, your concern was basically the discharge for the pool. I did send this to Gary with the description of what was happening with that discharge. I understood we were all set. Went to the planning board last night, and they've requested some comment from you guys. The plan I just showed. And I apologize. I don't have a board.
That's okay.
Let me describe it to everyone here first. The plan I just gave you, that's the existing conditions today. Take note of the, thank you. Take note of the gravel roads and the lodge area that's on the left-hand side with the existing pool. All of our work is within that area between those roads. Today, there's 25 campsites. The new pools will replace those. Just as previously proposed. The next sheet you can see is the site plan showing those new pools, and again demonstrating that this is all within that area bounded by the roads. Some things to note. Today, stormwater out here, there's no treatment. It just goes off, sheet flows towards the pond. We are introducing a infiltration basin to take all the stormwater from this pool deck area and infiltrate it into the ground. This approach reduces peak flow for all storm events. We do have a drainage report that's being reviewed by Fuss & O'Neill. The other thing to note here is the pool backwash is being pumped to a dry well, which is being registered under the Underground Injection Control Program with Mass DEP. The constituents from the backwash are well within limits for that to happen. That's basically the summary of it. It's the pool area that was shown previously, just now, again, fully detailed, and now we're getting a minor modification to the site plan as requested from the planning board back when the original site plan was approved. Any questions that I could answer?
Doesn't need a variance, right? Because nothing's in the 65.
Correct.
But there is some of the pool deck that's in the 100. So it's going to need approval.
It's going to need approval.
So this may not be something we can do under unanticipated. He may have to file a modification, an official modification.
I believe, and I'm just going from my memory, and that may not be 100% accurate, but I believe that when we approved the original plan for the changes to the overall park, we asked them to come back separately with the pool.
I think so too.
So I think that at this point, we need an NOI.
I don't think it needs an NOI. I think it needs just a modification. We
Well,
have to look back.
One or the other.
We have to look back.
Well, you amended the order of conditions.
The last time they
in
came to
August.
us,
Right, but
Yeah,
that
but
was
that
for
was
the change of
about
the
the-
road
No,
up
I'm
on the
just
hill.
saying, so you would either, you know, if you see it in your purview to amend again, or just do a separate NOI to keep them distinct.
I think that when we first talked about it a couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago, that we had asked to keep the pool as a separate item, because that was going to come later.
Well, that would
I
be a
don't
new
remember
one.
if it was, we asked to keep the pool separate, or they wanted to keep the pool separate. They didn't know what they were doing with that yet.
I think that
'Cause
we
it was
asked,
the water park type of thing. You guys were doing the slides and stuff. You didn't know what you were doing up there yet.
it may have been mutual, but I think that at the time, there were questions about parking.
No, maybe, I don't know.
It's just between the 65-foot and...
No.
You could go for an RDA, it's such a small area.
Okay.
That, it is in your wheelhouse to do that.
Do we already approve these sites that are in the 100?
Yes.
So those are already been approved?
Correct.
So all we're dealing with here is just the pool area?
Yeah, and if I could just jump in, this pool area was shown on that site plan. It's just now been detailed. I think the reason that the planning board had asked us to come back was that the detail about things like the stormwater and the backwash weren't fleshed out at that time. However, the impact area was shown, and so now we're just detailing that.
But I still think that it can't just be a
I agree.
unanticipated okey-dokey. I think it's got to be a. I think it's. I'd be fine with an RDA, but I think it's got to be a filing.
Because it's just a buffer and it's small
Yeah,
amount.
I get that.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to make it
That's
so
fine.
they can expedite this, so they can get it done.
Right.
I don't see it being an issue, but I just don't think we can fast track it like this.
No.
I think we have to put it on the agenda and make it part of this could have almost been a discussion tonight. But, well, actually, technically it is. It's unanticipated and it's really a discussion.
Right.
But either doing an RDA or an amended order of conditions really deserves a public hearing.
Yeah, either way, it's...
Yeah.
I just don't think it needs a new NOI filing.
Oh, that's
all.
fine.
That's why I suggested an RDA.
But I agree with you that we can't do it tonight.
An RDA or an amended order of conditions, and I didn't know exactly what, you needed to have, but I'm still glad that this is at least now still gonna be pushed off a little bit, but at least now we can get it so that, you're here tonight, so.
So let's move to schedule it for a regular hearing next meeting.
That's what I would do, I think,
Yeah,
Mr.
can we do that?
Chairman.
Yeah.
All right.
Gary?
So just we'll add it to the agenda for November 2nd.
Right.
Is our next meeting.
And he can go for an RDA.
An RDA
That
would be
the
fine.
cleanest.
Yeah, so we don't need to continue this around, this is just
No.
a
It's just
discussion anyway.
discussion.
So this is a, We'll see you on November 2nd. When's the next planning board meeting? That's like the end of
November
this month,
1st.
right?
The first.
Sorry?
November
The
1st.
first.
So he beat us by a day.
Yeah, well,
That's
know.
what it is.
it is, unfortunately.
You can talk to, you could probably talk to Tom and, I mean, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I don't anticipate this being an issue. They've done so much work down there that we've, you know, they've done everything they said they were gonna do.
Right.
So I don't see this little tiny bit
Sure.
of
Well,
infringement
the general
being a
pool
big
area
deal.
is already under the order, so,
That's
Right,
right.
yeah.
yeah.
So if you convey that to Tom.
I will,
Maybe
I will.
that'll make the planning board feel a little bit warmer and fuzzier. And then they can, you know, take it from there.
All
We
right.
tried.
I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Minutes.
Minutes, did Dan and Dave, did you get a chance to look at the minutes?
I did, yeah, but, yeah.
Oh, you weren't there.
What just happened, what was designed there, or what's gonna happen with that?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up a little bit.
What just happened there? I didn't
Oh,
hear.
we're gonna have that on for November 2nd. They're gonna come back with an RDA to make a, because we couldn't do anything tonight.
Okay, gotcha.
Sorry about that. You gonna be here, or are we gonna have to go through this again?
No, I should be here.
Oh, that's good. Where are you anyway?
I have 5 days of isolation, that's it.
COVID.
Oh, you're here?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
COVID.
COVID. I thought that was gone away. Okay. Minutes. I make a motion, we accept the minutes as printed for September 21st, 2022.
Do we have a second?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes for September 21st, 2022. All those in favor say aye.
All
Aye.
right.
Aye. Any opposed?
5-0.
Hearing none?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of October 5th, 2022. Dave, you will be, and Jim, you can't vote on these either. So it's me, Savory, and Dan.
Right, Dan, you need to second this, please.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of October 5th, 2022. All those in favor say aye.
All right?
All right, it's 302.
Yep.
The minutes are approved.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Wait 1 second, please.
Why?
There's one more order of business unanticipated, which was handed to me shortly a while ago. I'm just going to read it. To Chairman and members of the Conservation Commission, Chairman Savory Moore, due to my physical problems and illness, I am resigning from the Carver Conservation Commission effective this evening, October 19th, 2022. I have greatly enjoyed my time and my activities on the commission and will miss it greatly. James Nowen.
I don't accept it.
It's
Well,
done.
This is the last thing I wanted to hear tonight.
Like,
I think all of us feel the same way, but we have to
I understand.
grant the wishes.
Personally, I think it stinks, but I understand.
Yeah. So,
We can still call you and stuff, right? And, you know,
Oh, yeah, you
we
can
can
do that.
consult you?
yeah,
will you come in here and make a lot of noise in the audience?
well, you might have to go to the graveyard.
I tend to doubt that.
I do too. Well,
That's very sad. I didn't want to hear that tonight.
I didn't either. It's
You've been the lion of the Conservation Commission, my friend.
26 years is what I understand.
1996. 1996, you were put on the Conservation Commission, and since then you've served on the Cultural Council, you've served on the Zoning Board of Appeals, you've served on Earth Removal Committee. You've given a lot of years of your life as a volunteer to the town of Carver. And I said this recently to somebody, I said, you know, they're not making any more Jim Nowens. And what I mean by that is that we'll go a long way before we see somebody that will serve 26 years on a board. I just don't think you'll see it anymore. I think that's going to be a bygone day.
Alan, that's very kind, but I can see from the service that you people are performing, that this tradition will carry on, and I'm not worried. I'm just sorry to leave it, that's all.
You're going to be very sadly missed.
Yes, you are going to be completely missed by all of us. I've learned so much from you over the last 6, 7 years that I've been on the board. And I appreciate your knowledge, your friendship, and your humor. And I would like to have you come back one time so that we can give you a proper farewell. All right?
Piles of...
Not sure I like the way that
I'm thinking
sounds.
cupcakes. I'm thinking cupcakes.
Okay, sure.
All right.
We'll figure something out.
Okay, very good.
Motion to adjourn.
Hold on, one more point of order. That support letter for Julianne Wooten to Samantha Meserve to have you sign on behalf of the commission for that extension.
Yes.
What are we doing?
There was an email from Julianne Wooten from Pine Gate.
Oh, yeah, what's going on with that?
They're going back to the DOER with their original plan to put in steel poles,
I saw the steel I-beams down there.
which we've all approved.
I assume that was Plan C.
And
When they found out that they couldn't use the concrete.
they asked us to send a letter like we did the last time to the DOER.
Okay, except, so we're going back to the original drawing?
Yes.
So these I-beams are gonna go in the original places they are gonna put them in the first place.
That's what we're
That's
told.
right.
So now we can pile drive the I-beams, which is why they pulled the wood and filled the holes back in. That makes the most amount of sense to me.
Correct.
Right.
It's funny how it's, those aren't gonna fall over now this time around.
No,
Price
it's
of
not
steel
that,
came down, that's what happened.
it's not that it's not going to fall over. It's still going to wear out, but they must feel that
Yeah, the price of steel came down.
Yeah, the finances will
Yeah,
make
the
it work to
price of
replace
steel
them in
came
10 years, or 20 years. Okay.
But
200
money
years,
had
we'll
nothing
have
to do
another
with it.
solution.
So anyway, there is a letter
Yes,
to the DOER.
yes.
Um,
You want a motion?
Sure, please.
Motion to have you construct a letter to the DOER on behalf of Pine Gate Renewables.
Is there a second?
A second.
It's moved and seconded to compose a letter to Samantha Meserve, the active director of Department of Energy Resources. All those in favor?
You just let her know
Say aye.
that these were what you already approved,
Yeah,
right? So,
yes.
yes.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right, Dave, what was yours?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Hearing none, it's approved 5-0. Now we'll take the...
Motion to adjourn? Third time's the charm?
Wait,
I
dance.
I don't know if it was talked about in the beginning of the meeting, if I missed it, but we had some tree work done at Fort Lakeview, and we have a pending invoice to address.
We can't because it's not on the agenda.
Okay.
All right, we'll make sure it's on the
Put it
agenda
on
for the next one.
November 2nd one.
That was $3,800, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll put that on the agenda, and we'll make sure it gets taken care of next time, on the 2nd.
Okay.
All right? Sorry about that.
We
That's on me.
can't address it tonight because, Dan, it's not on the agenda.
Yeah, that's on me.
I put it in
No,
the-
that's fine. I just, like I said, he's gonna be doing some other work in town, and I don't wanna scare him off, so I just wanna make sure we're communicating with
Okay.
contractors.
All right, we'll take care of it.
All right.
All right.
Motion to adjourn for the fourth time.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, it's approved, 5-0. We're out. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Feel better.